My name is Dr. Jens Hillengass. I am the Chief of Multiple Myeloma in Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center in Buffalo, New York. So to explain what smoldering multiple myeloma is, it is the middle stage between a so-called monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance and the multiple myeloma, the symptomatic or systemic multiple myeloma. And all those diseases are caused by multiplication of plasma cells. Plasma cells are part of the immune system. They produce so-called antibodies. If they are monoclonal, as we say, then they only produce one antibody, and we can measure that as a so-called monoclonal protein. And the smoldering myeloma is defined by more plasma cells in the bone marrow, where those plasma cells usually are, producing the wrong antibody and this useless protein we can measure in the blood and in the urine. And the researchers defined that kind of arbitrarily as if you have more than 10% of those plasma cells in the bone marrow, if you do a biopsy, or if you have more of this wrong protein in the blood and or in the urine. Another defining factor is especially that you don't have any symptoms by the smoldering myeloma. So MGUS and smoldering myeloma both don't have any symptoms, so both are diagnosed by accident. That's also another characteristic. And the smoldering myeloma has a risk of progression about 10% per year in multiple myeloma, while the MGUS has a risk of about 1% per year. So the MGUS has a much lower risk because it's a much earlier stage. To find out those risk factors for smoldering myeloma, several researcher groups went back into their databases and looked which factors of the disease itself can identify patients with this high risk. And the three major risk factors that are at the moment an indication for treatment are a high plasma cell percentage in the bone marrow is a high risk factor. Another high risk factor are the so-called free light chains. They are parts of the proteins that are produced by those myeloma cells. And the third one is if we find in magnetic resonance imaging, in MRI, if we find focal accumulations of plasma cells in the bone marrow, because they are an early sign of a progression of the disease.